Everything we see is merely a shadow of the truth. Are you ready to step out of the cave? Today, a friend of mine will explain it to you.
Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're descending into a matrix. But look, I'm not talking about computer code or some sci-fi movie. We're talking about an ancient psychological matrix that, for over 2,000 years, has perfectly predicted the exact mechanisms of our modern digital lives. Today, we are exploring the hidden architecture of your own mind.
So, consider this question for a moment. Are you living a hallucination? It's a wild thought, right? I want you to really challenge your basic perception of reality for a second here. You trust your eyes, you trust your ears, you probably trust the world right in front of you. But what if the very things you think you're experiencing directly are actually just shadows? Shadows being projected onto a wall by your own biology. Okay, let's dive into this. Consider what neuroscientist Anil Seth points out. Your brain never actually touches raw reality. Just think about that. Your brain is literally locked inside the dark, silent vault of your skull. There are no windows in there. It has absolutely zero direct access to the outside world. So it relies entirely on electrical signals, constantly firing off guesses and building models about what's actually out there. Meaning what you and I experience as reality, well, it's really just the brain's best guess. It's a controlled hallucination.
Part 1. The Cave of Perception, the Biological Illusion.
If we go all the way back 2,400 years ago to Plato's Republic, he introduces this famous allegory of the cave. Picture prisoners, chained in total darkness since childhood, watching shadows dance on a cave wall and fully believing those shadows are absolute, unquestionable reality. Fast forward to today, and perceptual simulation is the literal biological equivalent of that cave wall. The sensory data hitting your nervous system, that's the firelight. And you are the prisoner chained in the vault of your skull, reacting to perceptions your brain just kind of constructs, assuming you're getting the whole, unfiltered truth.
Part 2. The Architecture of Illusion, Weaponizing the Shadows.
And this brilliantly illustrates a terrifying question. What happens when someone else gets control of the fire? What happens when this biological vulnerability is actually mapped out, targeted, and weaponized against us? Honestly, Plato's ancient cave wall is functionally identical to the digital echo chamber of your smartphone. Both of them feed us curated realities. Both of them keep us staring straight ahead, totally emotionally invested in illusions engineered by unseen figures standing just out of sight. Because make no mistake, these digital echo chambers are not accidents. They are expertly designed prisons meant to isolate us in cognitive silos. And how do they keep us there? Through our own psychological defenses. We lean hard into confirmation bias, soaking up all the messages we agree with and completely ignoring dissenting truths. We get wrapped up in algorithmic filter bubbles that reinforce our existing beliefs with, frankly, terrifying precision. We see empty rhetoric and moral posturing taking the place of actual, genuine dialogue. Deepfakes are completely blurring the line of what is even true anymore. And worst of all, we're kept totally docile through an addiction to mock engagement. It's emotional manipulation dressed up as human connection. We literally fight to defend the exact chains binding us.
Part 3. The Painful Ascent, the Trauma of Waking Up.
You know, we so often talk about enlightenment like it's this joyful, beautiful epiphany. But Plato warned us that waking up is actually a severe, traumatic shock. Imagine being physically dragged out of a pitch-black cave and shoved directly into the blinding sun. First, you get this blinding disruption that completely shatters your core assumptions about the world. Then cognitive dissonance kicks in as you're forced to surrender your comfortable certainty. And finally, because the pain of this new reality is just so acute, you get this violent, desperate craving to return to the old chains. It is, quite simply, so much easier to just go back to sleep. Escaping that cave isn't just a fun thought experiment. It is a terrifying, embodied survival mechanism. As cognitive scientists have pointed out, genuine insight requires lived experience. You can't just think your way out of the matrix, you know? You literally have to feel your way out. You have to surrender your deepest, most primal emotional defenses and just accept profound confusion before you can ever hope to achieve true clarity.
Part 4. The Tripartite Soul, the Civil War of the Mind.
Now, what's really interesting about this slide is, when faced with that blinding light, why do so many people beg to stay in the dark? Well, the answer lies in how Plato's ancient model maps perfectly onto modern psychology. Plato saw the human soul as a chariot being pulled by warring forces. First, you have reason, which aligns perfectly with Daniel Kahneman's System 2, that deliberate, slow thinking that actually seeks the truth. Then you have spirit, which matches up with internal family systems, our deep need for honor and social validation. And finally, appetite. This is System 1, or the Freudian id, that fast-thinking, impulsive drive for immediate material satisfaction.
So the crucial takeaway here is that we are not some perfectly unified self. We are a single soul actively fractured by a daily civil war. Plato called this the principle of non-opposition. Basically, the idea that a single entity can't undergo opposite things at the exact same time unless it has completely distinct warring parts. Your mind is quite literally fighting itself. Your reason might really want to seek the truth outside the cave. Sure, but your appetites and your desperate need for social validation, they will actively overpower your rationality just to keep you comfortable and safe in the dark.
Part 5. The Philosopher's Burden. The Social Cost of Being Awake. Let's move to and see how this builds into a final tragedy. Because what if, against all odds, your reason actually wins out and you become enlightened? Well, consider the myth of the legendary story that concludes Plato's Republic. It talks about how souls have to choose their next lives. And tragically, those who lived comfortable, easy lives in the dark, mostly just out of habit, usually make terrible choices. They get totally seduced by external rewards, and they completely fail to build the inner virtues you actually need to navigate the heady limitations of true freedom.
And so, when the enlightened philosopher finally returns to the cave, armed with all those hard-won virtues from the sun, they try to dismantle the algorithmic shadows for everyone else. They try to tell the prisoners, hey, your social media feeds, your tribal politics, these curated realities, they're all illusions. And the result? The prisoners do not think them. No way. They mock them. They scorn them. In today's terms, they cancel them. A public that is completely addicted to its own illusions will violently reject absolutely anyone who threatens to take their comfortable shadows away.
Which leaves us right here. You now know the architecture of the cave. You know exactly how your biology has been weaponized by digital screens. You know the sheer trauma required to actually wake up. And you know about the civil war raging inside your own mind every single day. The shadows are dancing on the wall right in front of you right now. So the only question left is, will you remain in the cave, or will you face the blinding sun?